Good morning. It is Friday morning, time for another episode of Fridays with Frank. Before I bring Frank out, don't forget to do what you always do: like, subscribe, comment, and please welcome Frank Cannata, our founder. Hey, Frank, how you doing today, and what's on your mind?
Well, I'll tell you, I'm a little slow this morning, so and I'm playing catch up, but I'll get there. I'll get there, I promise. We're very fortunate today to have a very special guest, a gentleman who's kindly been a contributor of ours for several years, and we really appreciate the quality of his journalism. He really has done an excellent job for us, and you may recognize his byline as Mark Vruno. Uh, he went to an event this year that we thought was, oh, we wish we could have been there. And when Mark told us he was going there, done. We had an ace in the bullpen, so to speak, who was there and covered it for it. So, Mark, I would like to welcome you to Fridays with Frank, and let's have a little talk about drupa.
Absolutely, Frank. Thank you for having me. It's great to see you. Before we delve into the whole topic of drupa, I wanted to say I'm really proud of what you're doing with your veteran segments. I think it's awesome. So keep up the good work on that in that area. So drupa, I think a lot of the people, obviously on the production print side of the business, know what the show was. For those maybe who don't know, it's a quadrennial show. Huge trade show in Dusseldorf, Germany, that ended 3 weeks ago. I like to tell people, Frank, that the shows in Europe, they're kind of like the shows here on steroids, right? They're massive. I think there were 18 halls, maybe over 11 days, 1,600 plus exhibitors, and I think the attendance was somewhere around 170,000 people. This year, which is down compared to past years. We haven't had a drupa show since 2016 because last time around COVID kind of messed things up. But I think it was a successful show from the standpoint that the exhibitors are pleased with the types of people that were there, the quality of the leads, and the business that's coming out of it.
What was new coming out of drupa this year?
Well, I think there were a couple things, Frank. Packaging, which we can come back to in a moment, because that was probably the biggest one. The other big one, obviously, was what a lot of people are calling the digitalization, if you will, of printing, automation, taking center stage, the whole artificial intelligence, AI component, machine learning on some of these presses, making things more efficient than ever before. Even robotics. Konica Minolta had a cobot roaming around their stand. A cobot is a collaborative robot that works well with humans. It's not one of these big industrial robots that can knock people over or hurt them. It's a smaller version, much more intuitive. So it was pretty interesting to see some of that. I have some stats that I wrote down. About half of the visitors came from the printing industry. Followed by the packaging industry, this show. It's a huge growth driver. Packaging now represents about 60% of the total printing market, and it's growing faster than the GDP around the world, Frank. So we're looking at a $500 billion with a B industry that's growing. Just the encroachment of packaging in all areas of the business. You mentioned EFI. They signed a deal with a company called Pack Size that they're kind of positioning the package, the box, the corrugated box, as the next way to help brand products. Not just a brown box with black type. You're going to see more color on boxes, more logo, logo representation, that kind of thing going forward. So with online shopping and COVID and packaging has just become this huge beast.
In terms of, that was interesting in terms of KM showing something robotic working with the device. So in other words, the plan is you sell the device, you're selling the robot along with it?
Yeah, it's just a a cobot that can help move material, from the press room, in a larger printing center, from the printing area to the finishing area, rather than having people move it around. Because as you know, Frank, there's a big shortage of skilled workers. The unfortunate part of that trend is, more automation. So there was a lot of automation being shown there. Another thing that I saw was Toshiba Tech. They showed with Ricoh a demonstration of what they call an InteGlide inkjet printer. And it's more with the packaging workflows for smaller lot printing. And they were showing that device on the floor. On the production print side, Frank, as you know, the usual suspects, were all there. Canon, Fujifilm, HP, Konica Minolta, Ricoh. They all had great things to say about the show and the contracts that they were signing, significantly exceeding their expectations. I think Ricoh Europe actually said they placed over 100 orders at drupa across all its businesses. Inkjet, toner, software, industrial printheads. So it was deemed to be a successful show despite the lower attendance.
Would your estimation be that if there's going to be any growth in print, it has to come from production and industrial print?
Yeah, and like we said, packaging. I was surprised to see some of the players there that were there. Kyocera was there, Frank. I think it was the first time they were ever at drupa.
To me, Kyocera is one of the more interesting companies, because we know both through the years how we've seen them, go about the business in the United States. And you never figured that they would really move up into the upper reaches of print the way they have. And when CJ and I went to Kyocera for the first time in 2014, we asked them about production print. And we said, "Are you ever going to get into that?" And they said, "Absolutely." So I said, what's your playing card? They said, inkjet.
Mm-hmm.
And they've really fulfilled that. And they're just going to keep going.
Yeah, it's interesting, being that the last drupa was 8 years ago. I mean, you think about it, how much has changed in 8 years. That's a long time. There were younger people that were kind of wowed by the show, that had never seen it before, a show of that scale. I think the American presence there, I think I saw a stat that was like 12% American visitors, mostly European, a lot of Asian exhibitors and Asian visitors as well. So it's really an international show. But just the amount of technological change that has happened in those 8 years is phenomenal. And like you said, we've seen companies like Kyocera that said they were going to do it, and now they've done it.